start in the name of the Most High.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. We begin by praising Allah Azza wa Jal, Lord of the Alameen, which is mankind, jinn and everything that exists. And we bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his slave and his messenger. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of our pious predecessors, a righteous man, once went to a graveyard to visit his friend. And as he got there and he was sitting down, he felt tired. So he thought to himself, let me pray 2 rak'at and I'll have a little nap. So he got up and he prayed 2 rak'at and he gave his salams and he sat there on the side of the grave thinking to himself, what did I just do that for? Why did I pray 2 rak'at so quickly and not take long, not have proper khushu', and he belittled the prayer that he prayed. And he fell asleep thinking and belittling this prayer. And as he was asleep, his friend comes to him in his dream. And he tells him, oh my friend, do you know those 2 rak'at that you just prayed? He said, yes. Do you know those 2 rak'at you just belittled? He said, yes. He goes, I would give up my children and this whole world and everything that's in it for the reward of those 2 rak'at to reach me in my grave right now. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, time is our most valuable resource. Why? Why is it our most valuable resource? Who can tell me? Limited. Nice, it's limited. What else? You can never, ever, ever get 1 second extra, nor could you ever get 1 second back. Money, wives, husbands, children, lands, houses, health, everything goes and comes, except for time. No matter what you do, no matter what you do, that exact second that death is ordained, you're going to cease to exist. So it's our most valuable resource. And just recently, one of the brothers was telling me a story of someone here in Sydney, very rich. He was diagnosed with cancer. They told him, you have no chance, no time, no nothing. He put $700,000. $700,000 to take him and his family and all the doctors here to Germany first class. As soon as he got there, he died. You can never get 1 extra second. And just a few weeks ago in the newspaper, they had written about a lady, a doctor. She done surgery on this man for 18 hours. For 18 hours she done surgery. Then she had a stroke and died, and that man lived. فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهُمْ لَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ سَاعَةً وَلَا يَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. And when death comes to them, that's it. They cannot delay it 1 hour nor precede it. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, time is our most valuable resource, and we are absolutely helpless, completely powerless to change anything. See, Allah Azza wa Jal, He says some powerful verses in the Qur'an. We probably read them day in and day out. We don't even realize the strength and power and the challenge Allah puts in them. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Qur'an, كَلَّا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ التَّرَاقِ. Nay, and when the soul reaches the collarbones. وَقِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ. And it is said, who can cure him? Bring your doctors, bring your medicine, bring your technology, bring your wealth, bring your armies, bring your friends. Let me see someone cure him when that soul has reached his collarbone. And in another verse, just to show us how powerless we are, and just to up the ante in that challenge, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَلَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُومِ. And when that soul reaches the throat, وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ. And you're standing right there watching. How many times has it happened to us? Someone's dying, a family member, they're right in front of us. We're watching them, we're looking at them. وأنتم حينئذ تنظرون ونحن أقرب إليه منكم ولكن لا تبصرون. Not only can't you do anything, but we're closer to him, that dying person, than you are, and you can't even see it. So not only can't you do anything, but you can't even see what's going on. You think you're standing there right on top of him. We're between you and him. We are closer to him than you. We're between you and him, and still you can't even see what's happening. How can you even help then? So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, time is our most valuable resource. And it's so significant. It's so important. It's so precious. It's so deep. It's so great that Allah Azza wa Jal, the greatest, swears by it in the Qur'an. And the greatest only swears by that which is great. He says, wal asr, and he says, wal fajr, and he says, wal duha, and he says, wal layli idha yakhsha, wal nahari idha tajalla. All these are times. Allah Azza wa Jal is swearing by them. Why? To show us the importance of this time. And as Muslims, we're supposed to believe in time, or the importance of time, even more so than anyone else. Why? Because we know when that time comes, wallahi, no matter what you do, you can never get a second chance. That's it, it's over. You can never get a second chance. What's the number one scream of the people of hellfire? Rabbi irji'un. Oh Allah, send me back. Give me some more time. لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت. So that I may do some righteousness in that which I left behind. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, they're not asking for their wealth, they're not asking for their families, they're not asking for their kids, they're not asking for their lands or their businesses they built. They're not asking for anything except for a few minutes, just to make a bit of a tasbih or a prayer. So my dear brothers in Islam and sisters, Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Qur'an, He describes the hereafter not as the akhirah, but in one of the verses He describes it as your life. يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي. Allahu Akbar. Look at the word Allah Azza wa Jal chose here. He didn't say, I wish I had sent forth good for after my death. No. He said, I wish I had sent forth good for my life. My dear brothers in Islam, my sisters in Islam, this isn't life. This is rubbish. This is passing by. This is a place where you're here to pick up whatever you can of good deeds so that you can have some currency over there. It's nothing. It's not even worth to Allah Azza wa Jal the wing of a mosquito. Yani if it was 2 wings, at least the mosquito could fly. It's not even worth 1. So completely insignificant. Dunya, the lowly. Dunya, the actual word means something that's low. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we have to heed Allah Azza wa Jalla's warning and take what the Prophet ﷺ told us in being very careful what we do with our time. This precious, this most valuable commodity that we've got, we have to use it wisely. We have to do as much good as we can, because the Prophet ﷺ told us the best of you is he who lives a long life and fills it up with good deeds, with righteousness. We have to build up our bank account of hasanat, because the only currency on that day is deeds. Just like here, if you got the million, you can buy the house. Over there, the only currency you've got to buy and sell is your hasanat. The one who hasn't done enough will barely get anything if he makes it to Jannah. Money exchange. Allah Azza wa Jalla is giving you time and telling you exchange it with hasanat, and I'll give you something which no eye has ever seen, no heart, no mind has ever can even comprehend or understand or even dream about. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the question tonight is, what are we doing with our time? What are we spending our time on? You call up a brother today, Shu Habib, what are you doing? Wallah, I'm watching TV, watching a soccer game, watching something for 5 hours. Why? It's boring. Why? It's not even the main matches. Why you spend 5 times? Wallah, I'm bored, I'm trying to kill time. No, brother. Wallahi, time is killing you. Qasaman billah, time is killing you. And that sister, your daughter, your mother, you come home, what are you doing? The Anfasat book or Insta Fitna, hours on end. Why? Wallah, I'm wasting time. Qasaman billah, it's wasting you. It's literally wasting you away. Wallahi, when we look at that clock and you watch the hands move, wallahi, you're watching yourself die. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Allah swore by time that verily all mankind in a state of loss. From the second you're born, the second you come out of that womb, your countdown timer has started. You're immediately in a state of loss. We're literally watching ourselves die when you look at the time. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, you know what Ibn al-Qayyim said? He said, wasting time is worse than death. Why? Because when you die, you sever the connection and separate from the dunya. But when you waste time, you sever the connection and you separate yourself from Allah. It's even worse than death. And Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he says, time, the day and the night, they're working on you. They're wasting you away. They're working on you. Make sure you work in them. We have to be like, I remember when I was young, we had that TV show when they would put someone in a shopping center, in a shop, in a store, and they'd give him a minute to run through and grab whatever he can. And you'd see him dash through that thing. He doesn't even know what he's grabbing. He's just trying to grab everything possible. Running through, throwing the trolley and then grabbing another one and running to make most of that minute. Wallahi, this world is less than a minute. كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها. It's nothing. Our whole life is equivalent to a morning or an evening. If Allah Azza wa Jal one day is 1,000 years here, our life is nothing but minutes. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, be wise in how you use your time. Our pious predecessors, our scholars, they knew the importance of time. They knew that they would cry blood on the Day of Judgment for every second they wasted. They knew that Allah Azza wa Jalla said in the Qur'an, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ عِدَّةٌ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And race, hasten forth to the forgiveness of your Lord and a paradise whose width is the size of the heavens and the earth. And they knew the ayah in the Qur'an, وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ. The forerunners, twice, Allah emphasizes twice, the forerunners, the ones that are racing each other. The forerunners, twice He said it. أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. They are the ones who are going to be close to Allah. فِي جَنَّاتِ النَّعِيمِ. In gardens of pleasure. Listen to these last two verses. ثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ. A great many, large company from the former peoples. وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. And only a small number of the later people. May Allah make us of them. May Allah make us of these little people who are going to be forerunners in doing good actions and using their time wisely so that we're close to Allah Azza wa Jal on the Day of Judgment. Ameen. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, they knew all this, so they took advantage. They took advantage. And we mentioned before the story of Abu Hurairah. I'm just going to quickly skim over it to mention the last point that I want to get to. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu struggled and strove so much for the deen, occupying every second of his life. All the time he had, learning and spreading the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on an empty stomach, barefoot, ripped clothes, tired, starving, sacrificed so much that he had a statement, if someone found death for sale, please buy it for me. If someone found death for sale, please buy it. He couldn't take it no more. And still when he died, what did he say? Ahin min qillati zad wa tuli safar. Oh, how little I have prepared for such a long trip. Think about it, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. Were his words wrong? 1400 years ago he said that. Whatever he prepared in those few years of his life, for 1400 years right now he's been seeing the fruits of it in his grave, and the punishment and the reward the real punishment and real reward hasn't even started yet. The Day of Judgment hasn't even come yet. Oh, how little I have prepared for such a long trip. Imam al-Nawawi, one of the greatest scholars of our past, the one who wrote Riyadh al-Salihin that we have in all our houses, the 40 Nawawi ahadith, that was him. He used to be seen, this was such a great man, subhanAllah, some of his stories, wallah, makes tears come to your eyes. One day he was walking in the street and he had a amama on his head. And a man ran past him, took the amama and ran away. Imam an-Nawawi chased him. You know why? He was heard calling out as he chased him in the streets, "Oh, so-and-so, I give this amama to you as a gift. Say I accept so Allah doesn't judge me on the Day of Judgment." This Imam used to be seen running through the streets. "Ya Imam, you're a great Imam, why are you running?" He said, "Why should I waste those few minutes walking from class to class?" Allahu Akbar. Didn't even want to waste those few minutes, just walking from class to class. Another one of the scholars, he used to pay someone to read to him the books of knowledge while he was in the bathroom, so he doesn't waste those 2-3 minutes and not learn anything. He used to pay someone, and they were poor. He used to make him stand a few meters away and read the knowledge of Allah to him so that he doesn't miss those 2 minutes or 3 minutes and waste them. So if time is our most precious commodity. Now that being said, I want to ask a question. Would you accept someone to call you a fool? That's the topic today, isn't it? The fool, the wise man, and the fool. I wouldn't accept someone to call me a fool. Even if I was doing something foolish, I wouldn't like someone to call me a fool. Listen to what the Prophet ﷺ said. He said, "A wise man is the one who judges himself and does good deeds to benefit him after death. And the fool," he continued, he didn't stop, "and the fool is the man, the foolish person is the one who follows his desires in committing sins and merely hopes that Allah will forgive him." Allahu Akbar. Every time you see someone doing haram, Allah Ghafur Rahim. Look at the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ. "And the foolish person is the one who follows his desires in committing sins and then merely hopes that Allah will forgive him." What a fool. You know what this man is saying when he says that, when he thinks that Allah will just forgive him no matter what he does? He's saying Allah is unjust. The first thing that Allah Azza wa Jal did was make oppression haram on himself. And this man comes along, wants to do every sin in the book and then call Allah unjust. How is he calling him unjust? Is it justice for Allah to put the man who sinned his entire life and the man who worshipped him his entire life in the same place? Is it justice for Allah to put the man who done good all his life and a man who harmed people all his life in the same place? When you do haram and commit sins and think Allah is going to forgive you, you said Allah is oppressive. Sadaqa Rasulullah when he said he's a foolish person. Now let's try to implement that on our lives. If my boss that I'm working for, that I make $100, $200 a day with, tells me, "You know what? I can either pay you $200 a day or give me till the end of the month, I'll give you 100 mil. Bit unrealistic, eh? But just bear with me. Let's ask a different question. If I bought a house, 20, 30 years I spent working day and night to pay off this house. I built it, I looked after it, I paid it off, and I'm sitting in there, and one day, my wife or some lady is changing the diapers of someone's kid, and he goes, "You know what, I'll give you the house, I'll swap it for that dirty diaper." A bit unrealistic, eh? Come on, Sheikh, no, it's not going to happen. It's happening. It's literally happening. Because Allah Azza wa Jal is giving us, the Prophet, he told us through the Prophet ﷺ that one stick in Jannah is better than this whole world and everything that's in it. Yet we throw away the whole Jannah for a few pleasures in this world. That's even worse than that fool who'd give up his house that he spent 20, 30 years building it for a dirty diaper. This filthy, rotten, disgusting world. You decided you wanted that, and you left the place in which you can accompany Rasulullah ﷺ. The place where you'll see Allah Azza wa Jal. Isn't that a bigger fool? It's quite unrealistic to think someone would give his house for a dirty diaper, but we're doing worse when we waste our time. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, all Allah Azza wa Jal asks for is a bit of time. The Prophet ﷺ told us we live 60 to 70 years. Like let's say 75, so it's easy. A third of our life we sleep. There's 25 gone. A third of our life we work. There's 25 gone. What's left? 25. Don't we eat? Don't we drink? Don't we go to the toilet? Don't we shower? Don't we get dressed? Don't we argue? Don't we have family time? Take all that out of the 25. What's left? 10? 10 years. 10 years of free time that we really have in this world. Out of those 10 years, can't we put a bit aside for Allah? And He will give us a paradise whose width is the size of the heavens and the earth. A place where you'll never go hungry again. You'll never be thirsty again. You'll never be angry again, be jealous again, be tired again, be sick again. A place which is perpetually increasing in pleasure. Constantly increasing in pleasure. One bite of that fruit, the second bite is better. The third bite is better than the second. The fourth bite is better than the third. Perpetually increasing in pleasure. But we will decide to waste those 5 or 10 years of free time, blow it, that most valuable commodity that Allah Azza wa Jal gave us, and we end up in a place of perpetual increasing torment for the rest of eternity. What a fool. What a fool we would be if we do that. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, one of the ladies of the past, she was standing over the grave of her son and she was crying. She was crying over the death of her son. And the Prophet of that time passed by and told her, why are you crying? She told him, my son has passed away. That was back in the days when they used to live a long life. How old was he? She goes, 300 years. He was still a baby. 300 years and he was still a baby. So this Prophet, to calm her down, he told her, how would you like to know, what would you think if I told you of a people who will come after us, who their entire lifespan would be 60 to 70 years? This lady was so dumbfounded, she was so shocked. She goes, by Allah, if I lived in that time, I would put my head in sujood and I wouldn't take it out till I meet Allah. By Allah, if I lived in that time, I would put my head in sujood and not take it out until I face Allah Azza wa Jal. Yet out of those 60, 70 years, it's only 5 or 10 years that we have free time. Our pious predecessors, our scholars, our righteous people of the past, when they used to hit 40, immediately they would divorce the dunya. They would retract themselves from the people and stay in worship because they know what's left of their life is less than what they've already lived. They already passed halfway. Now the guy is 65 years old and he's still thinking what is he going to build. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And on top of that, to show you how far we are away from the deen, how far we are away of the true understanding of our religion, if any of us had our wallet stolen or our phone stolen, immediately you'd get upset, shout, scream, sometimes even swear because of a wallet or a phone. But if we waste our time and end up in Jahannam, we don't care. Allahu Akbar. For a wallet or a phone, we'd get upset. Some people would start shouting, screaming, breaking things for something that's almost worthless. Yet, if we wasted our time, our most valuable commodity, and ended up in Jahannam for eternity for it, we wouldn't care. Sadaqa Rasulullah, the wise man and the fool. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says in the Quran, أَرَضِيتُم بِالْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا مِنَ الْآخِرَةِ. Are you satisfied with the life of this world rather than the hereafter? فَمَا مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا فِي الْآخِرَةِ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. But what is the enjoyment of this worldly life compared to the hereafter? Except very little. Except very little. Let me give you an example to show you how little it is. Abu Lahab, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, the one who was his enemy from the beginning, from day one. As soon as the Prophet ﷺ called to Islam, he was the one that got up and swore at him and was his enemy till death. He would literally follow the Prophet. As the Prophet ﷺ would walk in the marketplace and call people to Islam, he would literally follow him, throwing rocks at him and calling out to the people, don't believe him, he's a liar. Abu Lahab died in the 2nd year of Hijrah. So he lived the 13 years that the Prophet ﷺ gave da'wah in Mecca. Then those 2 years while Prophet ﷺ was in Medina, that was when he was died. So 15 years. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, because of those 15 years that he harmed the Prophet ﷺ, that he disobeyed Allah Azza wa Jal, he rejected the truth, because of those 15 years, right now he's been burning in his grave for over 1400 years and the punishment hasn't even really started yet. To show you how little this world is compared to the next. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the absolute punishment of the grave for 1400 years, and you know what he's saying? He's saying, Ya Allah, leave me here. Don't bring the day of judgment, because he knows what's coming later is worse. Isn't that the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The person in the grave will be in such absolute pleasure, but he'll be calling to Allah, bring forth the day of judgment, because he knows what he's going to is even better. And vice versa. This person is being punished so much, yet he'll be calling out to Allah, don't bring the day of judgment, leave me in this punishment, because he knows what's later is worse. It's not worth it. Wallahi, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. See, the Prophet ﷺ, what I don't understand, if you look through the seerah of Rasulullah ﷺ, sometimes we pass by some stories of the seerah and we're like, yeah, it's a nice story, or wow, that was alright, but we don't understand the gravity because we don't try to implement it or compare it to us living today. That simple story of the Prophet ﷺ, you know, that simple one that we constantly hear, the one where they came and they offered him wealth and women and leadership and so on and so forth, and he refused if you put the son in. Simple story, we just pass it by. Let's implement it today. The Prophet ﷺ was offered wealth. He was offered so much wealth until he'd become the richest in all of Arabia. And he refused. Let's look at us today. Anytime you tell a brother, we've got an initiative, we've got a program, we've got some da'wah, we've got some talk, we've got some lesson, we've got some Qur'an to be, anything. What's the first excuse? Work. That $100 you make in that hour is more important. I'm busy. People today, Muslims today, they're leaving Salat al-Jum'ah for work. When Allah specifically says, in the only verse in the entire Qur'an when He tells you, leave your work and come to it, is Salat al-Jum'ah. And that's talking about the people who are working halal. What about the people who, the love for their wealth is so much so that it's become their Lord? So they work in haram. They cheat, they steal, they lie, they cheat Centrelink. They work in haram like the drug dealers. May Allah destroy them like they destroyed our youth and our communities. The Prophet ﷺ was offered all the wealth until he became the richest man, and he refused and asked for a few measly dollars that won't even last us a few weeks. We'd give up our entire deen. SubhanAllah. What about the brothers who claim to be religious, who are having problems with their wives? So they go and they start harming their wives so they can ask for divorce so they don't have to pay their dowry. SubhanAllah. وَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ لِتَذْهَبُوا بِبَعْضِ مَا آتَيْتُمُوهُنَّ. And do not harm them so that you can get away with part of what you owe them. We do the exact opposite. Money talks, money is more important. What about that sister that got her inheritance, but she didn't like it? Why do I get half what the guy gets? Absolutely no understanding about the system of Islam. So she takes him to court, or she takes, who's heard of Amari versus Amari? It was out in the news a few years ago. This lady died, she left an Aussie will, but giving out the inheritance according to Islam. So what this girl did, she didn't like getting half what her brother got, so she took it to court on the basis that her mum was mentally ill at the time when she wrote the will, and she won. And she got the inheritance the same amount as her brother. Little did she know that in doing that, Islam was humiliated. Because out on the news, they're not going to say what really happened. They're going to say that, that's actually how I read it. When I first read it, I actually believed this is how it happened for a while before someone told me that it wasn't the case. It actually came out on the news that the oppression of Islam was beaten by the justice of the Western law, or something along those lines. They didn't make it out how it really was. They didn't explain the system of Islam and why the ruling is like that. They didn't mention the 36 cases where the woman gets more than the man. That didn't mention how no matter how rich that woman is in Islam, she is honored and respected and she doesn't have to spend $1 on her husband or her kids, no matter what happens. They didn't mention all that. Imagine the sin that she gets and the punishment she's going to get for humiliating the entire religion like that. Or that sister who gets divorced and then he pays her all her rights, but she doesn't like it. She wants to take him to court and take half his wealth. I don't worry for that brother. I worry for that sister. Because she just stole something. On the day of judgment, she's going to be questioned for that. He's going to get his rights no matter what. But her, that sister, don't you know your religion? Don't you know that the scholars said going to a council or a judge other than an Islamic judge for something Allah hasn't allowed us to take is shirk? Did you know that? We're not calling anyone here mushrik. Their judgment is to Allah. It's not for us to judge. The only reason we're allowed to go to the Aussie government or the Aussie law or the court system is to take a right which Allah Azza wa Jalla has allowed us to take. So if my husband didn't give me the dowry, I can take him to court and just whatever they give me, I just take the dowry and leave the rest. Because that's my right. And that's the only way I could get it. But to go to those courts to take something which Allah has made forbidden for you and haram, that's major. That's major. Or even worse than that, the custody battles. He could be the best of fathers, but she just wants to get back at him. Takes him to court for the children. He could be a better role model and influence on them than her, but she just wants to do it, just for the sake of spite. The Prophet ﷺ was offered all the wealth in the world and he refused. And for a few measly dollars, we'd give up our whole deen. The Prophet ﷺ was offered leadership of the entire Arabian Peninsula. He refused. Look at us today. He'll fight, he'll kill, he'll murder, he'll slaughter, he'll rape and pillage just to stay in that chair. Today, how many were killed in Ghuta? The last, around Asr time, it was 300 plus. Allah alam how much it is now. Just for that chair. When in our religion, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, but whoever kills a believer intentionally, his recompense is hell, wherein he will abide eternally. And Allah becomes angry with him and has cursed him and has prepared for him a great punishment. Allahu Akbar. For killing one believer. And in another verse, he who kills one person, it is as if he has killed all of mankind. And he who has saved one person, it is as if he saved all of mankind. And he's killing him in the hundreds of thousands. Muslims were killed in Iraq in the millions. All for that chair, to remain in power. Or that sister who'll lie, who'll cheat, who'll hide, who'll cover up, shout, scream, argue, fight, to wear the pants in the household, to be the man in the relationship. When the Prophet ﷺ said, لَعَنَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ النِّسَاءَ الْمُتَرَجِّلَاتِ. Allahu Akbar. Cursed is the woman who tries to be a man. And cursed is the man who tries to be like a woman. He cursed him. The same word used for Iblis is used for this man and woman. But leadership, it's more important. SubhanAllah. The Prophet ﷺ was offered women as much as he wants, as beautiful as he wants, to do what he wants and what he pleases with. He refused. Look at us today. How many of our shabab are falling into zina? How many shabab are addicted to pornography? Married men, one look, one smile, he throws his family in the bin and he goes after her. One look, one smile. That's not even to mention the zina and the raping and the so on that's happening. Or that sister, just a few nice WhatsApp messages, Facebook affair. Prophet ﷺ was offered any amount of women and as beautiful as he wants, and he refused. But that has absolutely no effect in our lives. That's not even to mention the brothers and the sisters that are getting to the new trend that's coming out As soon as they get together, they sit there and they speak about some of the things they do, them and their wives, the relations between a husband and wife. SubhanAllah. The Prophet ﷺ told us that that person, that man or that woman who speaks what they do between each other at home is like a shaitan and a shaitana. He called them a shaitan and a shaitana who met each other in the street, slept with each other in front of the people, and then just parted ways. How rampant is it amongst us now? Absolutely no shame. SubhanAllah. The Prophet ﷺ's response was, whether you put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I wouldn't leave this religion for the blink of an eye. It shows you how hard of a test it was, even for the Prophet ﷺ. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, it's not worth it, wallahi. 2 blessings Allah Azza wa Jalla has gave us are very undervalued, and that you could either cheat them or they could cheat you. And that is your time and your health. You don't realize your health, how important it is till you get sick, till you're in that bed and you can't move, till you can't get up, or you're constantly vomiting and you're completely hammered. That's when you realize the importance of your health and the blessing of your health. Until you see someone who's struggling to breathe. Wallahi, my uncle Ali Bana right now, he walks around, he struggles to breathe. It's painful for him to breathe. And he's on morphine 24/7. When you see that, you understand the blessing of health and time. When you run out of it, that's when you understand the blessing of the time that Allah Azza wa Jal gave us. So let us not be foolish. Let us not be of the losers. Be careful let's be careful how we spend our time. See, Imam al-Hasan al-Basri, one of the great scholars of the past, he said, verily, many a people were deceived by the life of this world and left it with no currency of hasanat, saying, we believe in Allah's goodness and mercy. He says, verily they lie, for if they truly believed in Allah's goodness and mercy, they would have done good actions in this world. If they truly believed in Allah's goodness and mercy, it would have rubbed off. They would have done goodness in this world. My dear brothers and sisters, stop wasting time. Wallahi, we never know when we go. And subhanAllah, just a few months ago, the ambulance went to pick up a patient. The ambulance had an accident on the way back to the hospital. All the ambulance, or the, what do they call them? The medics. All the medics died, and the patient lived. Wallahi, we don't know when, how, what time. Be careful how you use your time, because by Allah, if you do good, He'll give you a good ending. Even if you don't spend all your time doing good, even if some is just average and some is good, do good, make some effort, put some time in there, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will give us a good ending. And be careful what you do with this thing here. This thing here has opened the doors to every single type of evil imaginable. And subhanAllah, you download a game and you press on the game and pornography comes up as an ad. Our 7 and 8 year olds, our 6 year olds are exposed to this on a daily basis. You open up a cartoon, you open up YouTube, and you're watching an Islamic lecture, and right under it is the filthiest of things to tap on. Be careful what you're doing. You're spending thousands of dollars on this, and you're destroying yourselves and your families. I call this the dhikr killer. So back in the days, we used to, whenever we're waiting in line or waiting to do something, we'd sit down and do our adhkar. One of the greatest ibadat, the ibadah that is 100% sincere for Allah's sake, because no one knows about it. Now what? Even the adhkar that are sunnah mu'akkada, as soon as we finish our prayer, what do? We pull it out to see who sent us a message. It's a drug. It's a drug, subhanAllah. It releases the same chemicals that heroin and cocaine release in your brain. Yet, there's no limits to it. We just give it to our kids, and just as long as they stay busy. Be careful how you spend your time. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, when we were created, a place in paradise and a place in hellfire was created with us. what we do in it with our time decides where we end up. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year, everything we do in this time that Allah Azza wa Jal gives us gets us one step closer to this or to that. It's our choice. Allah Azza wa Jal didn't force anything on us. The shaitan didn't force anything on us. It's our choice. So let us choose wisely. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who best use our time. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who fill our time with righteous actions. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who hear what is being said and apply the best of it. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to guide us, our kids, our families, our relatives, our friends, and all of mankind. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to use us for His deen and guide people through us. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to protect us and protect the Muslims around the world. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to return us to our deen and the teachings of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the highest of paradise, the place where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be and all the prophets and messengers, the place where we can sit down and reminisce about the times we gave for Allah. That's literally what people do in paradise. They sit down and they talk about the times they worshipped Allah Azza wa Jal. May Allah accept from us all. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
I wanna be in Jannah, 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 Jannah. Every Muslim dreams to be up in Jannah, 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 Jannah. A pious person's destiny. Inshallah in Jannah, 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 Jannah.